So right off the top, I just want to say congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles on their Super Bowl win, and congratulations to Jalen Hurts and the whole squad for their performance. They absolutely dominated the game from start to finish, and of course, my thoughts and prayers are with the city of Philadelphia, because we all know when they win, that means somebody's gonna die. That means something's gotta get destroyed, because Philadelphia isn't the city of brotherly love for no reason. It's obviously based on an ironic naming convention. That being said, I will say congratulations to my brother as well, who predicted, because he said the Chiefs had a no O-line, an absolute blowout for the Philadelphia Eagles, said he was putting everything on it, and if only I would have listened to him, I would have come to you a much richer man. Also, in addition to that, not congratulations to my mother, who actually in her office betting pool had the number 0 for the NFC team, that would be the Eagles, and 4 for the AFC team, that would be the Kansas City Chiefs, because a fourth quarter garbage time touchdown by Patrick Mahomes ended up costing her the grand prize. So yeah, the losses and victories all around, but I think one of the biggest victories of this particular evening was the fact that this Super Bowl was not very woke in comparison to previous years. In fact, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter.com, or X, formerly known as Twitter.com, try to make something out of nothing, when in reality, there isn't that much to complain about from a politics point of view. Even the lefties that are complaining about Taylor Swift being booed think that there's some kind of political motivation behind it, because Trump was saying that she had a bad night and MAGA is unforgiving on True Social and then was reposted to Twitter. But in reality, the reason that Taylor Swift was booed was because the crowd was overwhelmingly fans of the Philadelphia Eagles, and she very famously dates a player on the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah, she was booed for that reason. Everybody relax, not everything is political. Now again, we're going to get into what I'm talking about in terms of the wokeness dying in this particular Super Bowl, but before we do, I will remind you that my friend Devin Tracy, his family lost their home during the California wildfires. He started a GoFundMe in order to support them, help them get back on their feet. So if you're a fan of Devin or you're a fan of mine and you want to donate, the link is in the top of the description. If you're not a fan, don't like Devin, or can't donate, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to help a friend. So like I said, I am happy for the Eagles fans, those who are left with us the morning after, because we know it was a bloody massacre last night in the city of Philadelphia. I'm specifically happy for my friend Lisa, I know you're out there, and of course for her children's, because the Eagles are one of those teams, like the Boston Red Sox were before they won, that were defined by having a devoted fan base, despite the fact that they would never make it to the top of the mountain. They would never win. And now, in like the last 5 years, the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls, which is absolutely amazing and redefines a fan base. And honestly, the young people just don't understand what it's like to suffer with the team for a very long time. I happen to be a New York Mets fan, so I understand that all too well. So I do feel good for them, I guess, although I think it is important to experience disappointment, defeat, and being crushed each and every year, just like the fans of the Eagles had done for so long before their first victory. That being said, again, the wokeness supposedly in the Super Bowl, few and far between. We had the Get Up and Sing, or whatever the so-called Black National Anthem was, at the beginning of the broadcast, but that really is not all that surprising. I will also add that there is no Black National Anthem. Again, we have an American National Anthem. You can have a nice song if you want, but let's be real, we are one nation, and we just gotta stick with that idea. We also had the end racism nonsense being removed from the end zone. Obviously, racism was defeated by all the times that it was in the end zone, but in addition to that, we had 2 very talented black quarterbacks, even though Patrick Mahomes is like a quarter black or half black, whatever, it doesn't matter, competing for the biggest prize. And again, after Colin Kaepernick made all that stink about how NFL athletes are actually slaves and it's still a white supremacist league, it's funny that we ended up going into the era of the black quarterback in the NFL, basically neutralizing all of his stupid ass points. So everything has been trending in this direction for a while. President Trump was actually cheered at the Super Bowl, which makes sense because he has a pretty high approval rating. His approval rating is even higher with men, and obviously football fandom is disproportionately male.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the
But what do I mean by the death of wokeness, you guys might be asking? Well, a perfect example of this is the fact that we had a commercial for Bud Light in the Super Bowl, and ever since the Dylan Mulvaney controversy with Bud Light, they've basically been trying to embrace the bros, trying to say that yes, we are a male brand, and there's a couple of different reasons for this, even beyond the backlash that I'll get into in a second, but you guys might have noticed that they had a commercial with the Shane Gillis guy, I think that's what he's called, and Post Malone, and Peyton Manning, and it was about a party in suburbia, again featuring beer. Now there's two main reasons I believe Bud Light is going in this direction. Obviously we have the backlash against them from their core drinker base or their core product purchasers who were really annoyed by the fact that they were celebrating this woke activist Dylan Mulvaney and trying to pitch Bud Light and rebrand it as something for the transes or some other such nonsense like that. And again, what must be one of the most failed marketing campaigns in the history of a company. That being said, we also have the data because who you're trying to appeal to doesn't make a lot of sense if they're not consuming your product or even interested in consuming your product. And it turns out that Gen Z, who would be the only people that would have a subsection of their group who would like Dylan Mulvaney to be sponsored by anything, doesn't drink alcohol. And again, we've seen the polling, it is dramatically down in terms of their consumption compared to even the millennials. And again, you just see it drops right off a cliff according to this chart of who is consuming alcohol. So Bud Light totally pulled back, a complete and total victory for the conservatives, for conservative media, in one of the most successful boycotts of a company in recent memory.
America was founded on an idea of freedom. America's always stepped forward in time of need throughout our short but powerful history.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Tear down this wall.
Now again, people are also highlighting a Secret Service commercial that I believe was actually directed by Michael Bay, which by the way, if you guys don't know, Michael Bay has won more of the award that is the equivalent of Oscars for directing commercials than like any other human being on planet Earth, and it shows in the way that he directed this particular Secret Service commercial, which I'll share a small snippet of it with you so you could get what I'm going with.
We've been there for all of it.
Second plane hit the tower.
Now, by the way, this Secret Service commercial follows a trend. We've seen a rebrand with the Army commercials that actually show Army guys, you know, like acting how they would in the Army. And this is a far jump from where we were during the Biden administration, where Army commercials were about girls and their lesbian moms and all this other stuff that has nothing to do with the United States Armed Forces.
This is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems. It begins in California, with a little girl raised by two moms. Although I had a fairly typical childhood, took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age.
So again, on the biggest stage in terms of commercials, people have basically had enough with the woke nonsense, and this is represented by all the different changes and all the different directions of the commercials in general. Now, with that being said, I will also like to add that the overall quality of Super Bowl commercials feels like, and I emphasize the term feels like, has gone downhill. There were no real standouts in terms of a good quality commercial for me in this particular Super Bowl. That being said, I do think that probably all of the commercials, or for long history, a bunch of these commercials were substandard, and the only ones that we remember were the outliers that were actually really good or really bad from our past couple of years or the past decades. Again, the ones that were super iconic stick in our brain, but you have to remember they run like so many commercials during the Super Bowl and always have, so I'm guessing the majority of them always were garbage. Now, with that being said, the good ones that we've seen, the more America or pro-America stuff that was throughout the Super Bowl, there were a couple of commercials that people have been pointing to, and honestly, the reason why people are highlighting a bunch of these commercials is because there's not really much to talk about in terms of politics from my side if you're looking to critique woke stuff in pop culture, because again, it was definitely lacking in this year's Super Bowl. So we had a Nike commercial where it was like, women are told not to do it or whatever.
You can't be demanding. You can't be relentless. You can't put yourself first. So, put yourself first. You can't be confident, so be confident. You can't challenge, so challenge. You can't dominate, so dominate. You can't flex, so flex. You can't fill a stadium, so fill that stadium.
And yeah, this commercial was cringe, regular, ordinary girl power nonsense, but whatever, it's not a big deal. It's nothing to actually make a whole video about, in my opinion. And of course, people were making some hay, some fuss about the flag football commercial where a black girl beat the good white guy in there just to show you that black women athletes are better than these incompetent whites, and that looked like this.
Your best guy?
Girl.
Whatever. Versus our best guy. The Brad.
Oh, not the Brad. I'm Brad.
I can read.
Now look, people can describe that commercial as woke or cringe or whatever they want, and honestly, I don't really care. This is just boring, basic girl power nonsense that we've seen a million times. The message is that they want flag football to be a varsity sport in high schools across the country. I have no issue if girls want to play flag football. It is something that really doesn't bother me at all whatsoever, and again, I find it to be bland and uninteresting, but a good indicator of the movement that we've made in terms of the culture is that the majority of the flag football team was not trans people. Like, that would probably be what would be in this particular ad prior to this kind of backlash that we've seen post the election against trans athletes in particular. That being said, again, it's basic, boring girl power stuff. It's nothing that remarkable. It's nothing to get upset about or anything of the sort, which is why I'm not wasting an entire video on it. I'm just saying that was there. That was one of the things that people will point to. You can cringe at that, but honestly, I'm not surprised that some of the girl power stuff is still there. And again, I don't have a major issue with it at all whatsoever. Now, of course, there's the halftime show, which I gotta pull up this tweet because I found it to be absolutely hilarious in the way that this halftime show was described. And this is from Joy D'Angela. Somehow it has 690,000 likes, and it says, Kendrick literally protested and taunted America in front of the president during America's biggest sports event. Chef's kiss. So yeah, this is in reference to a guy called Kendrick Lamar that apparently was doing the halftime show. Now, I watched the halftime show. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I'm not exactly a musical expert or anything of the sort, and I couldn't understand a word that he was saying, at least through the first half of this particular halftime show. So if there was a protest or something against the evil orange man, it didn't really communicate to me, but I actually assumed that this was the case, and the reason why is because for the last 10 years, every bit of art put out by the music industry or by Hollywood has been a strong statement or a strong stance against the evil orange man, and honestly, it's the most cliche nonsense that you could possibly do. That being said, when I pointed out that I couldn't understand anything, I got a bunch of unhinged replies about how he was going after another rapper, which is a guy called Drake. Again, I'm not familiar with this world at all whatsoever, and I should be supporting him because he was attacking this other rapper for being interested in underage girls. Again, an interesting message, I would say. Something that I guess I could get on board with, but yeah, if I understood the words, that would be easier. And overall, this seems to be a giant coping mechanism with the left, because a lot of people didn't really think this halftime show was all that good. That being said, I need to make something 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. I would not watch the halftime show. In fact, I never used to watch the halftime show, if not for the fact that I wasn't currently married right now or in a relationship / watching the Super Bowl with my then girlfriend, then fiance, now wife. Again, I feel like this is something to entertain the women. This is something that I would normally ignore, do something else during. So for me, if this was a strong message or strong rebuke against the orange man, I could care less. It really is not an interest to me. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, but it was loaded up with black people and like, there was no diversity and all that. Again, I'm not surprised by that at all whatsoever. When these people say diversity, these woke people, what they mean is no white people. So yeah, not anything that I'm particularly interested in. Again, a Super Bowl halftime show that appeared to not even go over well with people in the crowd. But apparently the Kendrick Lamar guy won a bunch of Grammys this year, and he's doing all right for himself, and that's how he was able to get booked for this. So congratulations to him as well. But again, overall, the message of the Super Bowl seemed to be American patriotism, which I think is pretty good because this is our last shared event as a country. It's the last thing that the overwhelming majority of people are watching together at the same time, watching it live. And it's nice that for the first time in the last maybe decade, the point of the event, at least from the people that are putting on the event and doing the commercials, isn't to rebuke half the country, isn't to moralize against half the country. And I think this is proof positive that America is in fact back. Now, with all that being said, I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below, but I just actually remembered one thing in particular that I have to make commentary on, and that of course is Matt Walsh saying that he never wants to hear about Patrick Mahomes being better than Brady because Brady was winning Super Bowls in his 40s and Patrick Mahomes is completely done before he was 30. And I just want to say, Matt Walsh, I do appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you do, but this is maybe one of the worst takes of all time from anyone at all whatsoever that I've ever heard in relation to sports. Yes, the Chiefs got absolutely obliterated. Again, their offensive line had no match for the Eagles' defensive front. But that being said, if you think the Chiefs are done with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, if you think Patrick Mahomes has fallen off a cliff, you're crazy. You're absolutely mad in every possible way. Again, this guy was in his third Super Bowl in a row. He won the first two, something that has quite literally never happened in the history of the NFL, and he's still under 30. You think the Chiefs aren't going to go draft offensive linemen? You think they aren't going to plug those weaknesses? In fact, it is very likely that the best team to bet money on to win the Super Bowl next year is Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. So again, Matt, appreciate you, care about you, have this little space in my baby heart for you, but let's be honest, terrible take, horrible take, horrendous take. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. That being said, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Super Bowl and the end of woke. Till next time.